Alright, welcome to round 4 of the FRL Division 2 Championship. Here we are at La Castellet, France, for what will be a pretty thrilling qualifying, I think. If it's anything like the Division 1 qualifying yesterday, well, looks like Ferrari can't escape the curse of the Spinalas. Kirito's already spun, not even making it through Sector 1 without that happening. Uh, Hopefully he'll shape up to be better, but anyway, as I was saying, qualifying yesterday in Division 1 was incredible. If Division 2 is anything close to as exciting, I think it's going to be very thrilling, but what does make this so thrilling is the track itself, and to take you on a guide of it, the Circuit Power card has a total 15 corners to make your way around, and two DRS zones, one down the main straight, the other just after turn 7, with Kirito's making his way through right now. Now this track, you can take a variety of setups, choosing a higher downforce, giving you a good advantage in Sector 1 and 3, or giving yourself a lower downforce, which gives you a massive advantage in Sector 2, and of course along the main DRS straight. But you would be losing on the corners, but the straight line speed is also quite powerful, so it depends on what risk you want to take. I would say that finding a proper balance is definitely important around here. This isn't like, say, Baku, where you can get away with more straight line speed, but it really depends on how comfortable you are around this track. If you're extremely comfortable, you can get away with less and less downforce. So it depends on your knowledge and your capabilities, I would say. And of course, the classic factor of risk versus reward. And speaking of reward, right here joining in the commentary box today is the previous race's winner, Max Verklappen. So Max, what can you tell me about this track?
Well, Mage, first of all, thanks for having me. This track's a very tricky one. If we're talking qualifying, it's really tough to put a lap together. When we're talking risk versus reward, you want to take as much curb as possible and push the boundaries, but at the same time, it's very easy to invalidate your lap. With that said, we should get a really good and unpredictable qualifying. I really can't say who's going to top the timesheets on this one for that reason. If we're talking race pace, like you mentioned, the setups are super important as well as confidence. You want to run as little downforce as possible, but at the same time, you really tend to overheat the tires, especially in quali at in the third sector. So the more downforce, the better over there on that part of the track. But you're going to want to trim down that downforce for the straight. So this is going to be a really interesting battle strategy and just honestly, this track again is all about confidence. So yeah, we should be in for a thriller here in France. I'm looking forward to it.
Indeed, you said that there are a lot of unpredictable factors here. One thing that is predictable, though, thankfully, is the track limits, because, well, now it's very clear cut that white line is a limit, but this track, it's entirely runoff. So, a lot of these drivers, they aren't afraid to necessarily push it, because the worst that's going to happen is they go off the track and invalidate. There isn't any gravel or any wall closed, so they can go full out, of course, within that limit, but it's about pushing it. And many drivers, as you can see with BBH White here, they'll go right where their tire is right on the white line, and they're still technically within that limit, but all it takes is going a few millimeters too far, and suddenly your entire lap is gone.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why keeping it clean, keeping it on track, and limiting the track warnings are going to be super important here. I don't mean to talk about myself, but you saw what happened yesterday in the Div 1 race. I pretty much just let Sugi, pull me away from Wolfer. And at the end, I got the win because Sugi got a penalty. At the end, I had 2 warnings, and I started to play it safe. Sugi started to pull away a little bit, but it didn't matter because I was still within that 3-second gap. So look for penalties to play a huge role in this race. And yeah, a driver's mindset today is you want to stay out of trouble. So hey, like we talked about, all about confidence. It's pushing the boundaries without stepping over them.
And for those watching, apologies if my voice sounds a little bit stuffy. I'm currently suffering from COVID-19, and my condition hasn't been great. I still feel about as well as Charles Leclerc's race result is at this track. So I'm hoping to recover soon, and hopefully I'll be back into tip-top shape by next week. Unfortunately for Baby Stiglet, he won't be in tip-top shape because he's already crashed out. Has he actually crashed out in the middle of the track? Oh, he's crashed
Yeah,
into the
you can
wall.
see him there.
Oh, he must have gotten a bit of oversteer after turn 7. A little bit weird place to lose it, but he must have been running a very oversteery setup. And as I mentioned in the past, it all depends on what, like I said before, risk versus reward. An oversteery setup, it will allow you to attack a corner much easier than an understeery setup, of course, but it causes the rear end to be very loose, and if you can't keep that car in control, you're going to lose it. And well, like I said before with these cars, they aren't like the previous generation where you can kind of throw the car into the corner and get away with it. With these cars, when you lose it, you completely lose it, and you have no chance to regain control until you're back at a full stop, really.
Yeah, it's really difficult to save these cars. It can be done, but it requires some really quick reaction, and you really gotta have to have an understanding of how these cars handle and when the rear is starting to go. But yeah, Baby Stiglet, turn 7. That's a really unusual place to lose it, but you can lose it there. You take too much curb and a little bit too much steering angle, and you could go around very easily. Uh, yeah, I mean you could find that to be the case for a lot of corners on this track because you want to attack these curbs.
At the moment, Rich Sebi is leading the session by a significant margin. He's doing quite well for himself after moving up from Division 3. So I have to say, I imagine he's quite happy with it right now. Another Division 3 come up, Kirito, has also been doing pretty well for himself, though at the moment is struggling with oversteer as he spins out again.
Little commentator's curse there. Yeah, Kirito's been in very good form in Div 3. He's been pretty much dominating Div 3 and setting the tone down there. So it's good to see him up in Div 2 where he, honestly, where he belongs. That's where his pace is at. Let's see what he's got against these Div 2 guys.
I have to agree. In the very first race in Div 3 where I actually raced, even though I managed to get a podium, I still saw Kirito's face and I just thought, he's way too fast for this division. I'm glad he got this call-up. He's definitely earned it. Though I think he's going to be eager to prove it once again, as he's going to go for another lap. But already with that spin, his tires are probably a little bit damaged by that. Not significantly, but it's always the slightest margins that can make the biggest difference here in qualifying, and that's Spun Haas. I think that was Banana making his way through because his teammate Sebi's in the pits. Indeed, that is Banana going for a spin.
Yeah, Mage, keep an eye on this storyline. Kirito versus Kermit. They've been going back and forth in the Discord. These two are not quite fond of each other.
I mean,
it'll be interesting to see what happens with these two when these two come together on track, if they do.
I mean, to be fair though, with Kermit, his hands are rated E for everyone.
In fact, they are. Yeah, he hasn't he's been talking a lot of smack about Kirito's use of traction control and being on a controller. So it would be really interesting to see these two come together on track at any point.
The Kermit, he's a very, very aggressive driver. He goes in incredibly fast, but also a little bit rough. I wouldn't say in like a bad way kind of rough, but he puts a lot of drivers on the edge, but just within that limit, kind of towing the line almost akin to Max Verstappen battling Lewis Hamilton last season.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. Kermit, he can get a little bit argy-bargy. As Kirito, he's going to cross the line. Where's that going to put him? It's P4 right behind his rival, Kermit. This is what you love to see. I really hope they line up next to each other in the race. And we're going to see some fireworks.
I have to say, that is an impressive lap considering these are 4-lap old softs, and he put in a lap that good. Tire wear, as you mentioned before, it can be quite brutal around here. Even doing a medium hard strategy can be a bit of a struggle. As I've seen in a couple races around here, if you don't manage your tires well, you are going to be completely ruined here. And where other tracks where you wouldn't necessarily have to worry about tire management as long as you run a medium hard, here, even with a medium hard, you need to be very careful with your tires, not to push them too hard too fast.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I was running a very, very soft setup in the front yesterday, and I was still dealing with some overheating in the last sector. It's one of those things where it's just like in real life F1, you want to let the tires come to you and take it easy the first sector, maybe save some tire life and tire temps for the last sector, and that is truly the case here. As you can see, Kirito, he's on his in lap, but it's very easy to go wide through that very, very tricky right-hander where you're turning in and braking at the same time. A lot of different lines you could take through there, but you're going to see a lot of guys understeering over the line and maybe potentially picking up warnings because, again, those temps are a struggle in the last sector.
Indeed, Dexter Arnold's making his way through on a lap for Williams. And Williams, they've had an interesting range of results. And I do think Dexter Arnold, he definitely does have consistency, I think, going for him. And I think he's going to be looking forward to bringing home a decent points finish. But right now, he's on a flying lap. And it's already shaping up to be a solid one. So, competition, I think, is going to be stiff. However, with Baby Stiglet out and setting a minute 40 time, that is going to give plenty of drivers a little bit of a safer buffer. I think if you... I hope you'll be able to beat a minute 40 around here. But if Baby Stiglet is beaten by everybody, that means only 3 drivers, excluding Stiglet, of course, would be eliminated here in Q1 because we only have 19 drivers here.
Right. Well, 6-foot Bananas managed to go slower than a 140 somehow, but who knows? Maybe that'll put him through. We got Yeti, Atmos, Prid, and Death Star looking to set some laps. At Death Star, he's finishing his up now. Prid, I'm looking to see him towards the front. He got some practice in yesterday in the Div 1 race, so we'll see how he gets along. But yeah, here comes Death Star across the line. Where's that going to put him?
Oh, he manages to go 5th overall. That is an impressive lap for him. And honestly, if he continues this level of pace, I think he's going to make it to Q3, no problem at all. And, well, if this does judge properly, he could be fighting for top 3 spot?
Yeah, it sounds about right as Atmos goes a little bit quicker. That's pretty close between, you know, who we got?
Well,
4 through 9? It's pretty damn close.
I would actually argue 3 through 9 because, well, Kermit, he's barely in the
Yeah,
130
you're right.
lines. But then you have a slightly bigger gap between Shaggy and Kermit, and then a massive gap between Sebby and Shaggy. Sebby, despite Shaggy getting a little bit closer, he's still half a second ahead. That is pretty massive. Although that's still not as massive as, say, Ayrton Senna's quality laps in Monaco, where I'm still baffled that he went, what, a second a lap faster than everybody else, including his own teammate?
That man was just a different breed. It's a real shame we saw his career come to a close as early as it did, because I'm sure he had still a couple more years to give.
Indeed, and it's also a shame that Wolfgang just suffered a spin, and it invalidated his lap at the same time. He's gonna have to go out for another attempt.
Yeah, that's going to be a common theme here. I know I struggled on Monday in the practice race in quali, just putting together a valid lap, and then, I mean, even in the back end in Q3, I used up all 5 sets of my softs that I had allotted in quali. So yeah, expect invalidations to be a common theme. Tire wear is really high here, so if you can't get it done on the first run, you're going to lose quite a bit of time on your lap.
Indeed, right now, the only 2 drivers that haven't set a lap are the 2 Alpine drivers at their home circuit, nonetheless. And I do think that both of them have the pace to get into Q3, although, Frid and Yeti have had a bit of a tangle in the past at Australia, where Yeti accidentally bumped into Prid on the final lap at one of the last 3 corners of the track, putting Prid into the grass. And I know Prid is still a little bit miffed about that, to put it mildly, but I doubt they're going to let that continue to bother them. Prid is most certainly going to keep his head down. And, well, let's see what kind of lap he can put together as he goes across. He manages to go 3rd overall.
Nice.
That is going to be a solid enough time to get himself into Q2 with little effort, but Yeti not having the same luck as he takes a very, very wide line. He made a major mistake, and now he's going to rejoin and make another attempt.
I'm surprised that's even going to be valid. He started the lap off the track, but it looks like it is going to be valid. He's very low on ERS. He's going to have to piece together a really good lap, but I mean, everybody in front in the top 15 is, I mean, competitively is putting together, you know, mid 32 or lower or to mid 32s. You got a couple stragglers with Welpdang, Natkins, and Captain Holt, but I mean, if Yeti wants to be safe, he's going to have to be in the mid 32s. So it's unlikely, but we'll see what he can do on this lap.
Indeed, right now, 6-foot Banana is making his way through. He's already improved by a whopping 25 seconds. Though, to be fair, he did set another 2-minute time. So, that certainly would explain it. But he is on a much better lap than he was before. It's just a matter of nailing this final corner as he gets ready to cross the line. This is shaping up to be a solid lap. Will it be solid enough to get himself into the top 15? He goes across, manages to go 9th overall. That it is going to be plenty enough to get him there. Right now, Yeti, he goes
Yeti
for a
spun.
spin. Oh, and unfortunately, with the time remaining, Yeti, I have a feeling, will be facing elimination. He's not going to have enough time to get into the pits, get a tire change or anything like that. He has no ERS left. His tires are definitely shot. Yeti, unfortunately, will be facing elimination. Still going slower than Baby Stiglet.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for him. I talked to him a little bit before we came into this weekend, and he was really excited to kind of turn things around and you know, kind of put that incident between him and Prid behind him. And this is not the best start, but he's got decent pace. It's not like he's, you know, he's a bad driver. So we'll see what he can do in the race as he puts himself into the wall out of frustration, right into the pit lane.
And now, here we go. We have very little time remaining, and at the moment, both Red Bulls are in danger of being eliminated. Natkins has found a good bit of improvement, but he needs to find much more if he hopes to make it into the top 15. Welpdang is getting ready to go on a flying lap. Baby White is on a hot lap right now. Big Cheese has retired. Big Cheese could be facing elimination if the 3 drivers below him manage to beat him.
Yeah, you're right about that one. I mean, it's very possible. I mean, Baby Dwight's on 2-lap-old softs, but you can put... Nah, he's invalidated it, so that's going to be Baby Dwight's quali over. Let's see what Welpdang and Natkins can do.
Natkins, he did find improvement, but not enough to improve on his current spot. Welpdang is on a flying lap. Baby Dwight cannot improve. He's going to make his way to the pits, but honestly, it doesn't matter. With Natkins not improving, Welpdang honestly doesn't even need to go on a flying lap. If I were him, I'd just slow it down, save the tires.
Yeah, it's going to be it. I mean, at this point, the tires are probably a little bit useless for the next session at this point, so you might as well see what he can do. And yeah, we'll see what he puts together at the end of this one. I mean, if it wasn't a decent lap, he would have aborted it by now. So let's see what he's got.
That's true. He's making his way through, taking up plenty of curb, but taking a little bit of a wide line to enter that section, but getting a good exit as a result. Now it's just a matter of this final corner, and you want to take up as much curb right about there. I think he could have gone in a little bit deeper, actually. You almost want to put your entire car on the curb at that particular corner. About turn 14, just the latter end of it. But one thing does improve, and he only goes P14.
The best lap from him. Like you mentioned, you want to take a lot more curb. I think he was just trying to put together a valid lap, but definitely still a ton of time to find throughout this Paul Ricard circuit. It's, again, a very difficult one. And we'll see what he can put together in Q2. But I don't think that definitely is not going to be able to get him through. He's going to have to find some improvement.
Indeed, honestly, I would say the most important thing to get right here at this track is getting the right entrance into a corner, because a lot of these corners, they're very, very fast corners, and so you want to attack them as early as you possibly can and keep up as much momentum as you can. Although getting a good exit out of a corner is also just as important, especially out of turn 6 and turn 9, as well as, of course, the final corner, turn 15, so you can get a lot of power going on that straight.
Yeah, turn 6, getting on the power is very tricky. We saw Sugi in Div 1 spin it, trying to pull away from me and break that 3-second gap. He almost did it actually. He was at 2 seconds. I don't think he would have got a full second by the end of it, but he was pushing really hard, and it's very, very easy when you're following somebody or pushing to spin up those rears and spin at turn 6. So expect to see a lot of people go off there, but like you mentioned, that exit is very, very important, as well as the exit at turn 9.
Indeed, what I am going to be looking forward to, though, is next week when we're going to be having another sprint race at Miami. Although qualifying, I think, is going to be more than a little bit of intense, especially when it comes to traffic, because I know that track can be a little bit of a nightmare in terms of traffic.
Yeah, talk about traffic paradise. It is traffic paradise in paradise. It's it's gonna be very tricky, especially in the race. I'm looking forward to seeing how the guys are gonna be able to follow each other through that early S section.
Yeah,
It's gonna be very, very tricky at the race start.
all that traffic really puts a new meaning on the term street circuit.
That is for sure.
Although, unfortunately for this circuit, Paul Ricard, F1, if I'm correct, won't be returning here next year. And
Yep.
there won't be a French GP on the calendar, but there is hope for one in the future. And speaking of street circuits, they're gonna be building one in the town of Nice. I think it's actually the town is straight up called Nice or Nice. I'm not certain. I am horrible at French, so if someone wants to correct me in the comments, feel free.
I'm a little I'm a little frustrated that F1, as awesome as street circuits are and the cars are following each other closely, it's gonna be a shame seeing some of these, these racing bred real life racing tracks going away. I will be honest, I'm not too upset about Paul Ricard leaving Formula One. That's just my personal opinion. Although it did, for the first time in a little while, produce could have produced a decent race if Charles Leclerc didn't crash out. But
Indeed.
yeah, I mean I'm really not too upset about it. But we'll see what this new street circuit's got.
Although I will say, last year, the French GP was incredible. It was honestly one of the best races in the entire year, I think. Just,
It
just,
was. Last year it did turn out good.
just so many overtakes took place. It was incredible. Just watching the McLarens just charge their way through the entire field, just cutting through it like butter, and then just watching the whole Red Bull Mercedes strategy battle, and just watching everything unfold at that moment was wonderful. Including Bottas's rage at wondering why they didn't do a two-stopper, even though both him and Lewis were saying, hey, this is a two-stopper, we should probably do that.
Shaggy's gone around. Yeah, I do remember that though. That was funny to listen to.
Indeed. Although I would say there are only 3 actual tracks on the calendar right now that I would really consider true street circuits. Those 3 being Monaco, Baku, and Singapore. And yes, Canada, Australia, and Jeddah technically count as street circuits, but I mean, come on. They are so far from a street circuit, they have barely even qualified. The only way they do qualify is because there's one small stretch that you can drive on normally.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's not really a street circuit to me. I guess because of the because the walls are right there and there's not really much runoff. And yeah, one drivable street. But I was gonna mention Monaco. Talks about it leaving Formula One. I mean, it would be sad. It just regardless of whether or not it produces good racing, let's be honest, it doesn't. Um, I'd hate to see it go. I really would.
I mean, I will say this: I did not grow up with Formula One, and so I will not lie when I say that, I'm not the biggest on tradition and everything. Monaco, it is nice and all, but the way I see it is, if they're gonna get rid of Monaco, I need to know what they're replacing it with. And let's say they're replacing it with a really, really bad circuit. Like, let's say they're gonna, hypothetically, they're gonna get rid of that and then bring back Caesar's Palace Grand Prix. In that
Yeah,
situation,
wouldn't be too fond of that.
in that situation, I would probably be screaming at Formula One, asking, "What are you doing?" But thankfully, we're not getting the Caesar's Palace Grand Prix. Instead, we're getting the Las Vegas Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean that one looks like a has some Azerbaijan vibes to it if you look at the track map. So
I was thinking the
that one
same
could be
thing.
pretty damn cool.
I was thinking the exact same thing. The way I saw that
Ooh,
track map.
ooh, ooh. The Haas's just blocked each other. Oh, that was really close.
Well, I imagine the team principal is not going to be too pleased about that one later.
Yeah, but as you were saying, go ahead, Mage.
Yeah, honestly, when I saw Vegas and I saw the concert and everything, I did get a lot of vibes from Baku, but also a lot of vibes from Monaco. It's like a fusion of the two, and well, make it American, and that's basically what the Vegas circuit looks like. And it honestly seems to be pretty good. I do have a lot of optimism for the track, and I think at the very least, the atmosphere is going to be brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. Going down the you know, that main strip in Las Vegas as the main straight. That's going to be I, it's tough to say there's anything, you know, there's going to be anything like that in Formula 1. That's going to be pretty special. Could be, you know, who knows? Maybe it could be it could really be an American classic, you know, with Formula 1 becoming more popularized in America, that could become an American classic. You'd never really know. But
Although, yeah, I do have to agree. There is one little complaint. I think that straight down the strip is way too long. I think it wouldn't have hurt to put one little section in the middle where there were a few other turns or something to kind of mix it up a little bit instead of one really, really, really massive straight.
yeah, even something as, you know, even just a chicane, you know, heavy braking into the chicane, almost like the one here in France.
Yeah, speaking of that chicane, well, the one I'm thinking of is this very first one that Meluno Equal is coming up to as he's starting his lap. Turns 1 and 2 can honestly be the most brutal of the entire track because, well, track limits are pretty tough here, and you want to make sure that you take the most aggressive line you can to get a good exit at turn 2. But going on that uphill section of turn 2, and then going downhill on the exit and taking up the curve, can easily throw the car off balance and cause a little bit of oversteer, easily sending someone into a spin, or it causes a bit of understeer, causing you to go wide, and then you're invalidating your lap.
Yeah, not as easy, not as simple as it would seem for a chicane. It's a tricky one for sure. But yeah, we got DTB Seb leading the way again. Big Cheese is the only one to get close to him so far. He's within 2/10. That's a solid lap from Big Cheese actually. We see that pace from him in Q1, so it's good to see somebody challenging him at the top. Kirito P4 at the 32.5, and his nemesis Kermit is yet to set a valid lap, and he's on an out lap right now.
I mean, like we said before, Kermit, he loves to push really hard, and sometimes he ends up invalidating laps, but when he makes that lap count, he certainly makes it count. And so it's all a matter of putting that one lap together. When he does, though, it's going to be a rapid one.
Yeah, should be a good one. You know, I expect him to be in the top 5. As there goes No Limits taking the 3rd spot at 31.6. That's a solid lap from him. So far, only 3 guys in the 31s.
Indeed, Fred is looking pretty rapid right now. I wonder if he'll be able to join that group of 3, make it a group of 4. He is looking very comfortable right now, taking up plenty of curb here. I think he could have taken a little bit more around that penultimate corner, but he's going to get a little of a toe down this final straight. That's going to give him a little bit of a helping hand as he goes across. He does get into that 131 time, gets ahead of the limit to take 3rd.
Yeah, pretty good lap there from Prid. It's a solid one, 31.5. There's now 4 drivers in that 31 second mark. I expect a couple more guys to get up in there, just like in Q1. So we'll see what happens. But right now, those 4 are in a league of their own. We'll see what Atmos is the closest to it at the moment.
Wonder
And
Toast goes for a spin around turn 6. Like you were saying before, you want to get on the power, but again, you do it too early, that's a very easy way to get some oversteer.
I'd argue that that is one of the trickiest corners on the calendar just because of the exit, especially in race trim. Again, when you're chasing somebody and you get too eager,
Oh,
they'll spin the car right around.
I couldn't agree with you more there. It's definitely Kermit goes for a spin while taking the runoff line. Interesting, but like you were saying, yeah, you're completely right. That turn, it's honestly a bit of a sleeper, I guess you could say, where not many people would think it's that difficult, but when they actually go through it, they think, wow, this is much harder than I initially thought. And so a lot of people can easily get caught out by it. Now, in the previous game, it wasn't as difficult, but with the way these new cars work, the way these new tires work, that turn is now much more difficult.
Yeah, especially with the setups in this game. You know, with the new handling and like I mentioned, the setups you want the car to be a little bit more pointy, and a lot of the time, you know, you see guys, including myself, that are running, you know, more front wing than rear wing, and that's the quickest way to do it. But hey, risk versus reward, right? It's tricky.
Yeah, and speaking of reward, Shaggy just put in a very rewarding lap. Also joins the group of 131s, making it 5 now, as he goes third, beating Prid's time.
Yeah, very close between those two as well. I expect that the times are going to be. I think, in my opinion, with the pace that Rich Seb has, I think he'll take pole quite comfortably. But I think it's going to be very close the rest of the way up and down the field.
I mean, Shaggy's been quite rapid. He was honestly on for, at absolute minimum, a podium finish last week until, an incident occurred that I will not mention. For those who know, you know. Big Cheese is making his way around on a new lap. I mean, honestly, I don't know why he is, unless he just wants to test himself to see how much he can improve, because he's already second. There's no way he's going to be facing elimination. Like I said, I think he's just testing his own limits here, or he's just going to go into the pits. Okay, um, interesting. Veltang is making his way through, though, on a new flying lap. He's just barely within that top 10, and he's going to be looking for a lot of improvement, as he is currently even with Kirito in terms of lap times. But Welptang has already found nearly half a second. I think he's going to be joining those 131 soon enough. Kirito is on a flyer himself. Weltang, he's going to put himself very high up at minimum.
Ooh, Kirito's made a huge mistake. Oh, he's on his out lap. I think he's yeah, I think he took some time and he's about to reset. He might have made a mistake earlier on in the lap. Wolfgang's crossing the line now. Where's that going to put him? P6.
And that does put him in the other 131 runners, and that's an impressive time for him, though. But if he does want to get into that top 5 spot, he needs to find at least one more 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, my eyes are on Kirito. It's, I really do. I know I talk about it a lot, but I do love this narrative, Kirito versus Kermit. Kermit's on his out lap now. Kirito's going for one. Let's see what they can put together.
It's a battle of the K's. Which one is better here? I never thought I never thought I'd see an epic battle of the K's like this. A frog versus an anime Mary Sue. Absolutely exciting.
That is awesome.
And
yeah, that is so true.
And just for that, I bet if Kirito watches this, he's probably going to be a little bit irritated that I called his favorite character Mary Sue, even though he absolutely is. But Kermit's making his way through right now on a flying lap. As he said before, he can struggle a little bit with track limits, but this is going to be his final shot, so he'll need to make it count. As he's going on this lap, he's looking really rapid here. But it's going to be close for him.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I don't know if Kirito's going to have time or if he had the fuel or what, but he's invalidated his lap. He's going to need another go, and he is in the bottom 5. So this is critical. If he doesn't have the fuel, this is session over.
But if Kermit invalidates, then they're both going to get eliminated.
Imagine them battling through the field.
I mean, I know if I were in front of them and I saw those two duking it out, I would honestly just either get away as fast as I could or just back out and let them go at it.
Just let them duel. Just let them duel. Yeah, it seems Kirito had enough fuel on board. He's going for another one.
Kermit, well, he managed to put together a lap that hasn't been invalidated. So this is going to be a strong one as well, as Kirito crosses, not Kirito, Kermit crosses the line. He manages to go P5. Oh man, I've actually been mixing these two up right now because, again, the case we've been talking about them all this time. Kirito, he's found improvement already. A little over a 10 has been gained in Sector 1 alone. If he can continue at this rate, he can get into the top 10, but he'll need to find about 3 more tenths if he hopes to get past Atmos. But Atmos is on finished lap actually, so now he's going to need to find in total half a second. And
yeah, and it's not looking good. He's burned all his ERS as well. He's got none left. This has got to be a picture perfect last sector for him.
He's already halfway there to meeting that time, but Waldo and Destarnol are both finding plenty of improvement here. This is going to be Kirito's only hope that he can put in the best lap that he can. And it's going to be close though. He takes up plenty of curve here. Destarnol cannot improve. Fucking Kirito, this is going to be close as he crosses the line. I don't know if he's going to make it, but he doesn't. It was so incredibly close. But Kirito will be eliminated in Q2. He's going to be starting P12. Unless Waldo can beat him. Actually, I think Waldo's going to be able to make it into Q3 as he goes across the line. He does! And that's going to push Kirito down to P13 now, and both Williams have been eliminated here in Q2.
Ooh, big yikes! And the banners are already going off in the chat. Shaggy with some words for Kirito and Kermit following up. This is not going to be good. I can only hope that they meet on track today. This is going to be really fun. Kirito, if he had the ERS, I mean, even with the worn tires, if he had just a sliver of ERS, he would have been through, but he's thrown it all away by burning it.
Indeed, and we have Wonder Toast eliminated as well in P15. This man has had an absolute tragedy of a week here at France. In the Division 1 race yesterday, he didn't even manage to make it to turn 1 before he got taken out, which I have to say is absolutely brutal. Aston Martin has been having horrific luck this season. I mean, even in Division 1, the very first race, both drivers didn't even last as long as Nikita Mazepin in their first race of the season. And it was just brutal. They were both taken out, again, doing nothing wrong. They were just caught in a really bad situation. But now we're going to be moving on to Q3. And at the moment, Atmos, Destarnol, Kirito, Vivage White, and Wonder Toast will all be eliminated. And all that's remaining are these 10 drivers.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Aston Martin, I'm very surprised. Pink usually has a white cloud over him, and it seems that he gets pretty lucky at times and is in the right place at the right time and gets to escape some danger, but that just has not been the case this season. It's just unfortunate for Aston Martin. They just been getting caught up, and unfortunately that's just part of racing. But hoping to see them turn it around because, Pink is a very quick driver, and you want to see Aston Martin in the hunt for the championship as well.
And already we have a couple cars making their way out, and they really do need to fix that glitch where they had the cars going through those little posts. And you can see it right there as well with Pred. I have no idea why that glitch is there. I bet you've even seen it when you're on board your car and you just phase through that little post part.
Yeah, that's happened to me several times before.
Yeah, although one thing that has been quite interesting though is the season break that's been going on, more particularly silly season. So
Yeah, you love to see that. I mean, I'm the whole, the whole Alpine scandal to you know, to Fernando Alonso leaving Alpine and Shambles.
Max, you there? I think I lost you.
Sorry about that, Mage. Yeah, from the whole, just so much drama at Alpine, and it's pretty interesting to see how this is going to pan out because now we have, potentially Ricardo going there in 2024, but you know, people are saying, what if he stays there? If he improves, and then you know, Oscar's going to be left without a seat. So we'll see what happens.
I don't think Oscar's going to be left without a seat at all, actually. But I will say this: I'm pretty sure that Alonso knew exactly what he was doing because if I'm correct, Alpine had a deal with Oscar Piastri saying, "Okay, look, you're still in our camp." So long as we get you a seat guaranteed by July 31st, we will get you a guaranteed seat by that point. Otherwise, and if we can't, then feel free to search on your own. And when does Alonso make his announcement that he's moving to Aston Martin? August 1st. Literally the day after the deadline. And I can guarantee, if I didn't know better, I would say this was intentional. And, well, I would say it was completely intentional. Alonso is an absolute supervillain, and I love him for it. He definitely did this just to screw over Alpine. But
I think that it has a lot to do with, you know, even with Fernando, helping Ocon out to get that first victory and everything, and it seems like they've worked so well together. I mean, Ocon hasn't really returned that, has he? And the team really hasn't done too much about it. You look back at, Hungary, where, you know, Fernando helped Ocon get that win, and then the next year, Ocon is the one holding up his teammate, and Ricardo gets by. You get what I'm saying? I think that left a really
oh,
bad taste in Fernando's mouth, and he's just like, whatever, screw him.
I do agree, but I think that's the least of his issues. The main issue that he was having was Alpine was only going to give him about a 1 year contract or something like that, and Alonso thought, I don't want that. That's unfair because they're doing really well, and Alpine's just like, well, you're old, and we have a really good junior waiting in the wings that we desperately need to get a seat for. And
So Alonso's like, screw you.
yeah, Alonso's like, well, I'm still good enough to warrant my own seat though, and he's like, well, and then he saw that Vettel retired, and he's just like, well,
Perfect.
yeah, that worked out perfectly for him. Right now though, Sebi is leading another session, holding an almost 131 flat. That's incredible. But as I was saying before, Piastri, what's interesting is that he completely denied the seat that Alpine said that he had. The fact that he completely outright said that he's not racing for Alpine, it makes me believe that he has a deal set in place somewhere. There's no way he would deny that unless he had a guarantee elsewhere. And by elsewhere, I think McLaren, and I think Piastri is going to go where Danny Rick was, and Danny Rick is going to go where Alonso was.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Man, it's gonna be interesting, isn't it? Who knows? Who knows? I think that's what most people are leaning towards, and I too believe that's gonna be the case. But it's silly season. You never know what's gonna happen.
I mean,
Remember back to right before Sainz got that seat at Ferrari, everybody thought that Ricardo was gonna fill that spot.
that's very true. Actually, even back in 2018, when when Danny Rick ultimately left Red Bull for Renault, he was actually considering McLaren, and they were getting a little bit close to a deal, but then Danny Rick ultimately thought, you know what, McLaren's running Renault engines, I'd rather stick with the manufacturer, or that's probably what he was thinking, And a lot of people thought he left solely because he didn't want to compete with Max. That's part of it. The other reason being he had absolutely no confidence in the Honda engine that Red Bull was going to switch to.
Right. That, and at the same time, I feel like, the relationship that Red Bull had with Daniel. I mean, it was awesome. It really was. Like, you could see it off the track that you know like they really liked Ricardo, and Ricardo liked it there, but at the same time, Max was their golden boy, and Ricardo knew that when push came to shove, it was going to be Max over him. And I think that Ricardo felt that leaving was the right decision for him for
Oh,
that
of
reason.
course. Well, I mean, Max was ultimately beating him, and the way I see it, Red
Yeah,
Bull,
absolutely.
Red Bull at the end of the day, they don't care who is in their car as long as they are the fastest. So,
Yep.
let's say Checo came in and he wiped the floor with Max. They drop Max at a heartbeat. And I know this because that's just how Red Bull works. They don't favor any driver. They only favor the fastest. That's why they favored
Yeah.
Vettel, and then they favored Ricardo, and now they're favoring Max. And then they'll favor the next junior that manages to beat Max. And, well, good luck to the next one who could do that because, well, Max is nothing short of a monster on the track in the best complimentary way possible.
He is. He's very quick. I can't see. I mean, who's gonna beat him on raw pace? I can't. I just. It's gonna be, another one of those things where, like, we talk about Lewis and Rosberg and him beating Lewis in equal machinery. It's gonna be a very special thing when that happens, but I don't see it happening for a long time.
Yeah. What has been interesting though is that teams are still trying to get a hold of Lando. Last season, at the halfway point, both Red Bull and Mercedes approached Lando and were like, "Hey, you want to team up? You want to join us? We'll drop our second driver in a heartbeat to have you on there." And
Yeah,
ultimately,
I don't doubt it.
yeah, because he was incredible in that first half of the last year. But ultimately, he made that decision to stay with McLaren, which I think was better for him in the long run. Because, well, he'd be competing against either Max or Lewis. And I would not want to go up against either of those.
I don't. I wouldn't either. I will say though, George is holding his own. He's doing a good job. I mean,
Oh,
for the most
absolutely.
part, they've run different strategies in the race, so it's hard to tell, who has been, flat out the quickest driver. I mean, they've both had their strong weekends and their weak weekends. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they're pretty evenly matched right now, and I think Mercedes has they've got a good head on their shoulders, and they're in a good place all around. All they need is to build on the foundation that they have with that car, which they have been doing, and they've been doing a good job. So as long as they keep that up, they could be fighting at the front with two drivers, and that's exactly what you want.
Indeed, and they're also building all those new facilities. They're investing heavily. What also invested heavily was Britt investing in a really amazing lap, going second overall, although he did take a spin in turn 6 afterward. Still, that lap was good, and he took advantage of the track being mostly clear to put that lap in. An incredible time for him.
It is. That's gonna be it for him, I believe. I don't think he's gonna be able to get in, as he is pushing really hard. I think he's trying to dive back into the pits and maybe fit on another set and go back at it, but he spun it, and I think that's gonna be the end of his session there. Big
Yeah,
Cheese,
you're
he's
right.
one to keep an eye on as well. He set a decent lap, and he was P2 in Q2, so we'll see what he can do if he could beat Prid. It's gonna take. He's gonna have to find a little bit of a time. He matched his Q2 time, and I feel like that was just about the most he's gonna get out of that setup and out of himself. But we'll see what he can put together in this lap as he rapidly approaches the turn 7 and 8 chicane.
Yeah, and he really is putting the definition of attack onto these corners, taking up as much curb as he possibly can. He's looking really rapid here. He's gained nearly 2/10 now. Actually, I think that amount of speed alone will be enough to beat Prid, but at the rate he's going, could he challenge Seti for pole position? I think he very well could if he continues improving at this rate in this final sector, but he's going to have to watch out for a little bit of traffic. Although that traffic is a little bit further up ahead, so I think he might be safe. Maybe not so much, because these drivers are going to have to pull a little bit of a gap. This may hurt Big Cheese right at the tail end. But at the very least, he's going to get a little bit of
This
a
is
toe.
perfect. It's perfect. That was he pieced together a pretty decent last sector, which is going to put him P2 ahead of Prid.
Indeed, I think he could have gained a little bit more time though, but still, that managed to put him a mere hundredth ahead of Fred. Meanwhile, there's still a massive gap between the top three and everybody else. Kermit has already invalidated his final attempt, so he's not going to be able to improve. No Limit, No Equal is looking to improve, but it's already down by 3/10 in the first sector. Banana is getting his lap underway as well, but he's going to have two cars chasing right behind him, including his teammate not too far off. Banana already completely aborts the lap. What?
Yeah, he did. He aborted the lap. That's going to be his quali over. Dub's on a lap. No Limit is entering the third sector, and he has gone fastest in the second sector. No Limit is on for a really good one here, and I expect McLaren to both be starting in the top 5.
Indeed, Sebi invalidated, and like you were saying, McLaren has honestly been quietly good throughout this entire qualifying. They've just been a little bit under the radar. They both managed to get into Q3. One of the only four teams actually pulled that off. So, okay, that's actually quite a few teams. Haas, McLaren, Mercedes, and AlphaTauri all got their full teams. The only two outliers being Prid and Big Cheese. But, yeah, like you were saying, the two McLarens are looking good. Dub manages to go P4, beating out Kermit, who can't improve. Neither can Banana. Dub still can't improve, though. But he may have a bit of traffic here, and the Haas does well to get out of his way. Wolfgang is invalidated as well as Shaggy. Waldo, well, actually, nope, Shaggy won't be able to improve. Waldo manages to go P5. That is a very good lap for him. Where can Dub put his McLaren? We're about to find out as he prepares to cross the line. This is actually shaping up to be a solid lap, I think. And it's going to be solid enough to go P4. Well, that's going to be the end of qualifying. Sebi's going to take pole position. Cheese joining him on the front row, followed up by Prid in third. Then we have McLaren 4th and 5th, with Dub and No Limit, followed up by Waldo, Kermit, 6th for Banana, Welting, and Shaggy. I just say that was a very, very exciting qualifying, and I think that's going to make the race even more interesting. We have a couple pretty fast drivers who unfortunately got caught out by some bad luck and unfortunate situations, so it's going to be interesting to see how they recover going into the race. We're going to be finding out soon enough, and we'll be seeing you all then for the race.